Yeah, campaigners are trying to ban the use of the term Lycra louts and indeed being rude to cyclists generally. Under proposed media guidelines, the abuse of cyclists would be treated from now on as a hate crime, and they would get the same protection, cyclists this is, as domestic violence victims and refugees. So if you were rude to a cyclist out on the road, you could end up in court. You could end up getting a criminal record possibly. Newspapers would also be gagged from stating if an injured cyclist was not wearing a helmet, why? Or if he was not wearing a high-vis clothing, why? Why can't newspapers say that if that's the truth? And they also want to ban the use of the term accident to do with cyclists, road accident, which I think is the official term for any road accidents, the legal term. This is all to protect cyclists, which of course these people are becoming the new gods. All of our roads are now devoted to them. You can just about squeeze the odd car onto the streets of London these days, but mostly it's all for cyclists. What a shame they never use these cycle lanes, but our mayor Sadiq Khan in London is obsessed with them. Mayors all over the country are obsessed with them. Everything is for the cyclists, and now you can't even call them Lycra louts. You can't even be rude to them under these proposals, or you might end up getting your collar felt. Newspapers can no longer be rude to cyclists either. This is all getting slightly out of control, isn't it? Let's talk to the co-founder of the Fair Fuel UK campaign, Howard Cox. Hello, Howard.
Hello, Kevin. I don't think I'm going to have much more to your introduction. It's brilliant.
Well
said.
It's madness, isn't it?
Well, when will this perennial plague of anti-driver plans, and the vitriolic rhetoric stop? Because, my inbox, the messages in our inbox from our supporters, it's reached Himalayan levels of anger. People are so fed up. What we've got to understand is that UK drivers give the fifth largest income to the Treasury. They're the highest tax drivers in the world, and are being blamed for all the environmental ills on this planet. And only 4% of journeys are by bicycle. Those are the sorts of facts that no one mentions. And for some reason, and I'm going to have to say this word, I replace Lycra with spandex then. That'll keep them happy, will it?
I don't think it will, because it's derogatory, you see. You mustn't be nasty to the dear cyclists. It's a crime against humanity, according to these new proposals. It's just bizarre, don't you think?
Well, in fact, Lycra is a brand name. The actual generic name is elastane, would you believe? Which is, I think, is a lovely word. But there's these elastane-wearing special advisors in Whitehall and also the BBC. We mustn't forget that, led by Jeremy Vine. They're growing bigger by the day. And I'm afraid this is just not fair. Where is this coming from? The whole thing is completely stupid. And to gag the press to tell the truth, I think it's beyond belief.
It really is, and newspapers, and in this is one of the proposals by the alleged newspaper control group, the watchdog called Impress. Not many papers belong to it. No national newspapers belong to it, but they're saying that that under any report involving a cyclist in an accident must not in any way blame the cyclist. In fact, you can't call it a road accident. The cyclist must be exonerated of all potential blame, and that they remain untouchable people in journalism when it comes to riding bicycles. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I mean, to not be able to say that a cyclist was not wearing a helmet or not wearing a high-vis jacket, that's suppression of the truth.
Well, the problem is, you terrible media, you horrible media people, you're saying things. That these cyclists are being frustrated by road deaths. That's what they use the emotive term road deaths being portrayed as unavoidable accidents, rather than being very avoidable and get this criminal behaviour. So every driver is a criminal. That's what they're saying. What I think we've still got laws at the moment. I think they're in place now that who's ever guilty is put in prison. I think an idiot driver should be put in prison. I've got no problem with that. But a cyclist, I'm afraid now, can do what they want. They can go through red lights, they can cause accidents, and you can just give them a nice little cuddle and say, it's not your fault, it's that horrible driver over there.
So yeah, well, the nitty gritty of this that impress Max Mosley's organisation
Yeah.
want to impose on newspapers that if we can't use the word accident if there's an accident involving a a bike, a cyclist, even though road traffic accident is the legal term recognised by police and courts. So what we're saying is, well, what they're trying to say is if there's any kind of incident involving a cyclist and a motorist, to say the word accident is to imply that it might not be the car's fault. And that all incidents involving cyclists, it must be the car and not the guy in the Lycra on the bicycle. This is this is almost sinister, isn't it?
It is. It's Orwellian. It's really worrying. Max Mosley's no stranger to spandex, don't forget. And we got this situation now where people like Chris Baldwin, you know, I'm quoting him now. He said the new guidelines would ensure those who are truly responsible for road violence are the ones in the spotlight. He calls it road violence. Now, violence to me, isn't that deliberate? Isn't that something like that? So when you go out in your car, Kevin, or when my mother-in-law is 90 years old and she goes out in a little Peugeot 203, you know, she's a violent criminal. That's what they're being portrayed as. And this is stupid and it's got to stop. We're joking a little bit about this, but this is becoming too serious. And the gullible politicos, the local councils and the people in the Department of Transport led by Grant Shapps are falling for this. And we've got to fight back.